It has been a little while since I did a video for you, and I missed you. It's nice to be back here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do a door because we've done a couple of keys. We're going to do this door, and then we're going to texture it in Substance Painter and try to make it look old. Alright, so this reference image is available for you to download. It just makes it a little bit easier to model. So I brought it into Blender, and I'm going to press S2, and press 3 to look from the side, and I'm going to pull it back. Then I'm going to look from the front. And I'm going to press G, and I'm going to move this in. Let's try it maybe just right about in the middle, like something like that. And we may move it. All right, so we're going to start with a plane. So bring in the plane, rotate X 90, and then I'll just press S to scale. And I just want to see how accurately. I think that looks actually pretty good. So I'm going to select these vertices, and I'm going to bring them up to the top. Like that, and it doesn't matter if we're a little bit off the diagram, right? And I'm going to bring that down to there, go into wireframe, and we have this. Okay, so instead of making the door out of like just a solid plane, we're going to make it like it looks like it's made of pieces of wood. So I know you can't really see that I've got that there, but there it is. All right, I'll do that. We're going to put in an edge loop, Control R, and click, and then I'm going to go Control B to bevel and split it. And I'm going to pull to about there so I can have this piece and this piece. And I'm going to put another edge loop right in the middle, and I'll zoom in. Control B, and I'm going to pull to about there so we can have this middle stuff. But we also need Control R, horizontal edge loop, pull it up to there. So now I can get this piece here, and we'll keep going. An edge loop in, and I'll come to about here, and another one to about there, down here, an edge loop there. I mean, I could put one in the middle of that and try to split it, but this is just fine. To about there. Don't worry about being super accurate. It's going to look like a door. To there. Alright, so that's what we have, just like that. Now, let's see. What we can do is let's make holes. Let's, in face selection, holding shift, select all these. Those are going to be holes. So we can go ahead and delete those faces right now. And reselect the whole thing. And okay, I think actually the easiest way to do it right now, just look from the front, is to make the separate pieces of wood. So let's press 3 for face selection. And let's select all these. In fact, you can start selecting and then hold down Control and click the bottom one. Shift, select there, Control, and the bottom. We'll do those two together for now. So let's press P and separate by selection. So we have that. All right, let's go back in and let's do these ones. So that and Control. I'll do all these together just for the moment, just to get them like that. Okay, P, separate by selection, and then we have that thing there. Okay, so this is all one piece, that piece. Okay, so I think at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to select the edges that I don't need these running through these. So I'm going to dissolve edges, and I could leave that all together, and maybe I will do that. So let's go in and look at this one. Are there any edges? There's no edges to delete, but this one there definitely is. So this edge, all these extra edges, so we'll just have it as one long plane, a rectangular plane. Okay, X dissolve edges, so I have that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to select, I guess, all of these, and let's give it some thickness. I'm going to edit for all of them, even though they're separate. We can do this. E to extrude and pull back, something like this, to give some thickness to the door, however thick you think you need it, something like that. And I don't need the backs, so I'm going to X faces. So we have this. Now let's go ahead and put a bevel on, and I think I'm going to be leaving all of the other faces. Like there's a face in here, but we'll see when we put the bevel on. We kind of need that, so I'm going to do 3 and 0.01. And I'll put on the cavity shader so we can see we have a little bit of a bevel, and we need that edge, I think. So if that's the bevel that we like, we can apply it to the other pieces by selecting that one, and hold shift, select that one, and then hold shift and select that one last, and control L, copy modifiers. It'll go on everybody. So let's hide that for the moment and see. All right, so it looks a little bit more realistic as a door than just a single plane with wood on it. All right. So we have these pieces. We don't have the trim or the molding or beading yet. I don't know if it's called that, but we do need this stuff in behind. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to bring in a separate plane. Rotate X 90. And I will pull it back a little ways. We can adjust how far back we want it later. I'm going to scale it in the X so it just tucks under. And then I'm just going to, I could do it evenly, I suppose, scale it in the Z, so it covers everything like that. And we can put a wood material on that later on. All right, good. So we've got that. I'm going to make it a little adjustment over here. Switch this to both and start pulling these up. There, just so we get that effect for now. So let's now do, let's say, some of this stuff, and then we'll do that inner stuff. Okay, so my cursor is there, and I'm going to go into wireframe. It's almost where the hole would be, at least across from it. So I'm going to bring in a cylinder. I'm going to leave it at 32, so it's relatively smooth. You could do less if you wanted lower poly. I'm just sliding this over here and scaling it down. I can just press G. Let's rotate X 90 and just press G and get it into position and scale it down a little bit. And what we need is for that piece to go all the way through, and it's going to be very easy. It's just a thin plane. So we're going to have that. All right. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to add a Boolean and drag it to the top, leave it on difference, and with the eyedropper I'm going to click there, apply, and I could save that, or I think I'll just get rid of it. All right, so we have that, but we don't have any thickness on here, and so what I'm going to do, I don't particularly like this. We're going to change that in a bit, but I'm going to select here this stuff. I press E to extrude, and I'm just going to pull it in like that, and now we can see we have our bevel. We'll shade smooth in a bit. I don't like these lines going all the way down, and so what I'm going to do is create my own. I need two supports for this. So I'm going to, using the knife tool, I'm going to press K. I'm just going to select one of these vertices here, press A to constrain, and just going to drag it over like that. And it doesn't really matter if I just hit this line or if I go further on and it, you know, connects further down. That's fine. All right, now I can select these, and I'm not doing well, there's an extra one in here. So on this one I'm going to shift alt and click, and I'm going to get this edge and this, because you don't really need that in the circle. So I'm going to X dissolve edges. I won't change the diameter circle, but I'm not going to do that here and get rid of this edge, just this edge. X dissolve edges. All right, I just think it's neater. All right, so we have that. I think I may go back to that. Yeah. All right. Okay, so back in the wireframe, we're going to do this piece here. For that piece, we're going to bring in a plane, scale it down, press G to grab and move it over, scale it until it matches the approximate diameter of this. Rotate X 90, it'll be a little easier to see, and just position it something like this. Select this top edge and pull it up to there, and this bottom edge, and pull it down to about there. Now let's go back and look at this. I'll select it and just bring it off the surface of the door, and I just want to look that it's roughly in the center. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the center either. Back into wireframe. Okay, looks good. All right, I'm going to turn to the side just a little bit. I'm going to extrude this out, press E, and pull out in the Y. Give it a little bit of thickness like that. Look from the front in a wireframe, and now I'm going to scale. I'm going to scale. If I just press S, it never scales properly, but so I can pull it like that so that the Z, it's scaled in the Z nicely. Now I'm going to SX, and I'll just pull it in and sort of make it even like that. It doesn't matter if it goes under the doorknob because the doorknob has a thin stock on it. So let's have a look at that. So this is what we get. All right, but we're not quite done. I'm going to, in 3 face selection, select that back face, and I like to extrude it back a straight piece like that, and then get rid of that face, and then pull that in to touch the door. Now I'm going to add a bevel on this as well. I'll go up to 3 and 0.01, but it'll look a little too rounded. And so I'm just going to come in, I'm going to add one more edge loop, but I'm just going to start pulling it down, and as I do, the bevel will start going. And just leave it something like that. I think that looks fine, looks nice. We'll shade smooth in a bit. All right, so for the keyhole, let's do that. Let's start getting our cursor where we need it. So let's select here and just select that face. Shift S, cursor to selected. Look from the front in wireframe now. And we're close at least. So we're going to make a circle with a thing. And I know it's really blurry, so. And I'm going to use high vertices. I'm going to use 32, the default on this circle, so that you get a nice smooth hole. I'm going to rotate X90 and start pulling it down. And just get it a size that I think looks good. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit big. I mean, look a little bit maybe cartoony or something. So a circle something like this. And then we want to box select. If that's the bottom piece, I'm going to come out 1, so 1 on each side, 2 on each side. I think I'll come out 3 on each side. We'll try that. And I'm going to press E to extrude and come down. And I'm going to straighten this out by SZ0, and I might S to scale, just make it come out a little bit like that. And just pull it down a little way. So we're off the diagram a bit, but this is what we're getting. All right, and now what I'm going to do is come back in, and I'm going to delete these vertices. So I have just this outer sort of profile. All right, and now I think what I'll do is I don't even really need these, so I can X dissolve vertices. And now I can select these and I'll bevel them a little bit. Shift Control B, not just Control B, Shift Control B. Pull to split like that and put even just a total of 3. I usually go for 5, right? But it's so small, so I'll do that. And I might consider trying to bevel here, those 2 as well. Shift Control B, pull, have the 3 just to make it a little bit more rounded. All right, select it all, F to make a face. We now have a object that we could use. Look from the side and I'm looking from that side, and pull it off the surface, and then E to extrude and pull it down just to give it some thickness like that. Now chances are I've pulled the wrong way, and okay, well it's actually blue, but other stuff is not. So let's have a look first of all at what we've got. All right, let's select all of this stuff here, and actually, you know what? I'm going to hide that and select all of this stuff, and Alt-N, recalculate outside. So that's all blue again. Alt-H, bring that stuff back. This is blue, everything's good. If this one was not, it's just a single plane, you'd have to go Alt-N and flip. All right, at any rate, we are good to go. So we got this piece here. We need to bring it in so that it makes contact and goes down into there. So let's do a Boolean on this piece here. So Boolean, drag it to the top on difference and select it and apply, and then get rid of that. And that is it. Now if I shade smooth this, we'll get some shading errors, and those can be fixed with weighted normal and normal's auto smooth usually. And I'm not going to worry about anything about the cuts. That's fine. That's good enough. All right, so we got that in there. So now it's time to do the doorknob itself. 3D cursor's right there, and I would probably just use a UV sphere. And If we stick with the default number, we probably don't need to do a subdivision, and maybe that's too much anyhow, but let's try it. Let's go with the 32. I think it's 32. Get the approximate size. Rotate X 90. All right, we've got that in there. And what we'll do is we'll pull it out. And I'm going to actually squash it. So I've got it all selected in edit mode. So I'm going to scale it in the Y and do something like this. And then to go into the door or into that piece of metal, I'm going to select that vertex and Control plus. Maybe just if I do it there and then I X vertices, it'll come out to there. I think that's probably okay. Let's try it. Let's Shift Alt to click that edge. I went into edge selection, and let's just extrude back and see if that makes a decent connection. I think that looks reasonable. I don't think it needs to be any wider than that. So what I would generally do is come down like that, and then E and S come out a little ways, and then one more. Something like this. Because that metal ring going in. Now that may be out a little bit too far. Let's see what happens if we shade smooth it, how good it looks. I think it probably is going to look just fine with some edge loops. But is that too far out from the door? Not necessarily. Let's just drop some edge loops in here. Let's bevel this edge. So Shift Alt and click that edge and Control B and pull and have, there's 2, 3 edges. And I could bevel this one too where it connects with the 3 like that. And it looks like I'm going to need to drag one more down here to fix that shading. And then if you want, you can come in here and do something like Control B, split it just with the 2, E and Alt S and pull in, and then grab these 2. Control B and pull and have 3 and see if that's good enough. Just to do something, have some other kind of design on there. I'm going to put an edge loop in here and here. And, that way we can get some edge detail in Substance Painter. And maybe just on the front, I'll go back into Wireframe. We'll take this vertex and maybe I'll come out one more and X vertices, get rid of those. And now we would have this. What I might do with that is just F to make a face, and then I to inset and pull it in a ways. And then do a design if you want, like just bring it in, maybe scale it in. And we'll let's see, we'll bevel this with 3. And we may need to actually take this and inset one more time just for shading. And maybe that's okay, like that, or you could have it sticking out. It looks a little bit like this one. And I think that's probably fine for that. All right, let's check this. Yeah, looks good. Turn that off once in a while and come over to another matte cap just to check how it looks and how it seems to be catching the light. Okay, that's looking just fine. All right, so we're going to do this stuff now. And what I will do is because this is already kind of central, and I don't want to select this whole big other back piece, I'm going to use this. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, pull that into the middle. It's got the right height, I guess you would say. SX, and get it to about there, but let's separate it out. P, break it out. So that is a separate piece for us. And I can set the origin of geometry. I often don't. I just go into edit mode, and then my gizmo is right there anyhow. I'm just going to pull it out a little bit so we can focus on it, and we'll make some of this trim. All right. And some of this is trial and error, so I'm just going to I to inset and pull that in. I'm going to select the whole thing. I might need a bit more room. Okay. So I'm selecting that face, and I'm going to extrude back. So I pulled that in, and I'm going to press S to scale a little bit. And then I'm going to I to inset again and give myself a second sort of flat layer. E to extrude, I'm going to pull that back, and then I'm going to delete that back face. Now I'm going to select this outer edge and just bring it down a little bit. Let's try bringing that in and seeing what that looks like. I'm going to scale in the X a little bit and scale in the Z a little bit, like that. And now we can do some work on this edge. Let's select that edge and Control B to bevel, and let's put a few segments in there to sort of round it a little bit more. And we can do a similar thing down here. Shift Alt and click there, and we'll just round that like that. And I think that is what we're going to go for. Let's just have a look at it here. Yeah, okay. And we take that off. Yeah, we're going to go for that. We can see if it improves with weighted normal and normal auto smooth, and I think I probably would leave that on anyhow. That will look fine when it's textured. So now I'm going to take this, I'll go into edit mode, Shift D to duplicate it, and we'll bring it over to here. Select it all, Shift D to duplicate, pull down, and GZ, line it up with the top as best you want. It doesn't have to be perfect because it wouldn't be. Box select the bottoms in wireframe, pull them down to here. Maybe go back into solid so you can see it relative to our model and not the reference. Okay, and then maybe box select up here, but go Control L because I'm not in wireframe right now. Shift D to duplicate, pull them down to here maybe. Let's go into wireframe, box select the bottoms. I'm going to go back into solid and pull them down till you like the position. Something like that. Now, let's see. We can get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. We've got what we need here. Let's have a look at this. Okay, everything's good. So let's have a look with another matte cap. I'm going to switch to this red one I often will use because it looks cool and it also shows me, you know, the shading on this. Alright, so you can experiment with different bevel profiles, but that's pretty much what I would want to go for this style of door. Alright, we have that. If I want to do shade smooth and I'm having any issues, I will do that and I will add weighted normal and normal's auto smooth. And then I probably would end up doing that on all of them. So I'll just quickly add that and we'll see if we notice any real changes. So those all have it. That has it. Which one doesn't? This one. I doubt this one would need it anyhow, but we'll see. So we'll talk about what we're going to join later on and unwrapping it when we get to the next step. But that is how it's looking, and I think it looks fine for our style of door. So let's just quickly have a look at the statistics on this. So it's not low poly or anything. It comes out at 7,500. There are areas where you could reduce it. You could try a lower bevel. You could have less bevel segments here. You could have less segments on here. And of course, if you wanted to put any other modeling details, I would bring it up. You could do like a bolt on, you know, in Substance Painter if you wanted to. But anyways, I don't think that's much of a problem really. So there is our door. We're good to go. We're going to save that, and in the next video we're going to unwrap this and work on textures. Okay, so yeah, have fun with doors. Try different designs. Have one where you have a big one up here and you have a window and you can make the window dirty or break it or something like that, or have the doorknob off. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything here. Sometimes I like to leave this open, like, you know, just like that, instead of putting that other piece in there. So we'll see. All right, cool. Thanks a lot for watching and take care.